everyone, welcome. I am Tita, and you're watching my Yarn Talk series podcast. This is episode 5, and if you have seen my previous episodes, you know that every episode is devoted to a very specific topic. And today's topic is winter whites and winter blues. And although every episode is devoted to a specific topic, all these topics are broadly centered around ideas in which you can make things that are a little bit more modern, interesting, and cool. So if you think of a sweater, there are 3 things that are very obvious. First, the color, second, the shape, and third, its texture. So if you want to make something a little bit more modern, then you could make them with a little bit more interesting textures or a little bit more interesting colors. And that way, even a very basic design can become a little bit more contemporary and interesting. So as I said, today we will talk about winter colors, primarily, as you see, blues and whites. But before I do that, I decided I will say a few words about me and what do I do and why. So I actually own a online yarn shop called Yarn for All, and as of now it is only on Etsy. So if you want to look me up, it's Yarn for All LLC at etsy.com. My plans are to make my own website, hopefully within the next few months. But as of now, all the yarn is sold through Etsy. And the reason why I have a yarn shop is basically my sister. So to make the story short, last year around October or mid-October, I decided to knit a really large blanket for my sister for Christmas. And I ordered a few sample yarns. I needed a very specific pink and a very specific gray to match my sister's furniture in her living room. So I ordered a couple of really cool looking pinks and really cool looking grays to see which one would be the best to match up with her furniture and her style. So the yarns arrived from Europe. I picked the 2 colors that were the best, and I decided to email the shop owner what does she think, how many skeins of yarns I need to make a blanket 50 by 70 inches. So if you think about that, that's a really, really large blanket. And the yarn was a lace yarn that I ended up choosing. So the shop owner got back to me within like a day, and she said I will need about 13 skeins of yarn. I thought, wow, that's very little amount of yarn, but if I use a 5 to 7 millimeter knitting needle, I may make it. She must know what I'm talking about. So I decided to add a little bit of yarn and hold the yarn double so the blanket is not too thin. So she said 13 skeins. I decided let's do safe and let's do 14, but since I want to double the thickness, let's do 28 total, and that way the blanket will be thick enough and warm enough and long enough for my sister. So I put in an order for 28 skeins of yarn total. I wanted it pink and gray, so it was, I think, 2/3 or so pink and 1/3 or so gray yarns. And the yarn arrived from Europe in about, a little over 2 weeks or something like 2 weeks after I ordered it. And since it was a little bit before Halloween, I think, around October 20 or so, I figured if I want to make this, actually I decided to only make it 60 inches in the end. So if I want to make it 60 inches, then I will have to do 1 inch every single day. I have to knit 1 inch so I can finish this a couple of days before Christmas to be safe. So I cast it on the blanket. It was 200 something stitches, so it was really, really like a long blanket to make it about 50 inches wide. So I got that and I started knitting, and I started with 1 inch a day. That took me, I think, about 2 hours because I used like a 2 or 2.5 millimeter knitting needle, so that was very very skinny knitting needle, and I held a lace weight yarn double. And I wanted to knit them a little bit tight. That's why I only used like a 2.5 millimeter knitting needle. So I was knitting it up until like 6 inches. I thought I'm gonna maybe make it. When the blanket was about 6 inch is long, I realized that I don't think I'm gonna have enough yarn. But I was like, okay, let me just knit a couple more inches to see. I mean, the shop owner said 13. I went with 14 and double that. So, I mean, and you know, I should be okay. So by around 10 inches, I knew for sure I don't have enough yarn to make the blanket as long as I wanted. So I quickly put in another order. But I was told that I might not have the same dye lot number for the yarns, which that means that it can vary a little bit in terms of color. So I put in an order quickly and I decided, okay, it's gonna be here in about 2 weeks. So I am set back by 14 days, which is about 14 inches. I'm gonna use up most of the yarns I have, and I save a little bit to kind of blend in the new pink or new gray that I may get in the end. So I was a little bit nervous about that, but I was like, okay, I still have time. If the yarn gets here in about 2 weeks. However, the yarn got here in about 4 weeks, which made me very nervous because I basically lost like 20-something days of knitting, and that meant 20-something inches from my sister's blanket, and that was her main Christmas gift. So I was like, I have to finish this. So I decided to knit every day 2 inches, and 1 inch in the morning and 1 inch in the evening, and that way I would be able to finish it right before Christmas. And luckily it got done right before Christmas. But that experience made me think about it. Why do I need to order great quality yarn from Europe and wait like 2 to 4 weeks until it actually gets here? Why can't I just buy it here? So that gave me an idea to maybe I can open a yarn shop, carry all the yarns that I love, and it's readily available in the United States to ship it out quickly and get to people in the US quickly. Obviously to people around the world a little bit slower. So that gave me the idea of having a yarn shop. And then I started to look up all the yarns that I like or I would love to carry. And I settled for 3 brands. I have BC Garn and Crème Cascol wool from Germany and Fildar from France. And I will talk a little bit in more detail about both of these companies, but particularly about Fildar, because I was told that currently, when I'm making this video at least, I am the only distributor of this yarn in the United States, which I think is really cool. But I also feel like I'm kind of responsible to introduce all of you to all these yarns and explain to you why did I pick these as opposed to any other yarn that I could carry in my shop. So I will put out a video about each of the yarns I have in my shop. It will be under sort of like a yarn news or something shorter on my YouTube channel. There I will introduce every single yarn in more detail with close-ups and explain to you how is the yarn and to which yarn it is similar to that you may know. Other famous brands, and why do I prefer this over basically anything else, or how is this yarn different than any other yarn that I know. So if you're interested to see that, please try to subscribe to my channel so you will get the updates when all of these videos come out. So basically my sister is the reason I have a yarn shop in the first place. And when all these amazing yarns arrived, I felt really that I would like to knit something more that I can actually wear. So something like a sweater or I don't know, something more like a sweater actually. So I looked up all the patterns that were available, and although I found a lot of really beautiful patterns, all felt that they are great, but it's not what I'm looking for. And I wanted to have something a little bit more modern that was out there in terms of the design, not just the colors or the shape, the colors or the texture, but also in terms of the shape. So that gave me the idea to design my very first sweater, which is the Veronica sweater. Currently it is being test knitted, and the pattern will come out right around Valentine's Day. So if you're interested to see the pattern or actually see the sweater itself, it is in my other 2 videos, I think episode 2 and episode 4. I'm wearing it in a Feel Passion yarn and I think Feel Love Mohair. So you get to see the design, but before the sweater comes out, I will put out a video of how I actually made the sweater, how I designed it, and why, and you get to see the sweater before the pattern actually comes out, and you can hear about the sweater in more details. So to be brief, I'm designing because I was looking for something else that was not available. So if you will see my Veronica design or my 2 other new designs that is almost ready to be test knitted, then you will see that the common sort of denominator in this design that they are modern with a little bit of friction. They are modern but functional. But as of now, I can't really better define my own style. I hope as these videos go on and as I knit more, I will be a little bit more eloquent in about sort of defining my own style. But as of now, I can only say that is modern with a little bit of friction, because I'm looking for something interesting and something new, but not new to this extent that you can't wear it. So I want something functional but interesting. So today I will talk about winter colors, particularly blues and whites, and another interesting winter mix. And this will help you make any design that is out there a little bit more modern. All these yarns that I picked, there are actually 4 different types of yarns in a couple of different colors, but all these yarns have a little bit interesting texture and very interesting colors. As you know, every company puts out colors every year, and there are always like colors that are always there, like the grays, special whites, special blues, special red, like the basic colors are always there, but every year they kind of change sort of colors in terms of bringing in some new interesting colors, some vibrant colors, sometimes pastels, but those come and go. So every year new colors are put out there, aside from the very common colors that are always out there. So today I will show you some very interesting blues and cool whites that the Fielder company came out with this year. And yes, most of them are, I think, from this year. So let's see the yarns. Let's go first with this one. This is Fielder Fil Bonbon, and again I want to say I don't speak French, so I'm probably gonna mispronounce every single French word, but I will put all these yarns and links to all these yarns to the comment section of this video, so even if I mispronounced it, you will be able to find the exact color I'm talking about and the exact yarn I am talking about. And as of now, you may have to copy and paste the links in this comment section. I am not so sure if you can directly click on them, but in the future hopefully you're going to be able to directly click on them. But however, it's all going to be in my comment section, so you'll be able to find the yarns even though I'm mispronouncing them, most definitely. So the first yarn, as I said, this is the Fil Bonbon yarn, and this is a acrylic, cotton, and polyamide blend. I picked this yarn because it's a very interesting lightweight blown yarn that is extremely soft. I don't think you can see the softness, but it's like a very fluffy yarn, and as you can see, it's a blown yarn that is only a little bit stretchy. So there is, like every blown yarn, it has a tiny bit of stretch to it. And although it's an acrylic blend, and acrylics not necessarily are soft at all times, this is an acrylic Egyptian cotton blend, and if you know Egyptian cotton, it's a really soft, high quality cotton. So this yarn is exceedingly soft. It is a chunky weight yarn, if I remember right. So I bought this tiny little device to determine how thick the yarn is, or what is the weight of the yarn, because the Fielder company does not classify their yarns by weight as we do here. I think this is one of their fancy yarns, so they have very different classifications for the yarns. So I bought this little device, and according to this, I think the closest I would say this is in the, I don't know if it's gonna work, this is in the chunky yarn category. I don't say this is the chunkiest chunky, I think it's exactly just qualified as a chunky yarn. So that all I can say about the weight of the yarn with certainty. The recommended needle size is 7. I knitted up a sample, but I used a 4.5. So all the sample knits that you will see is a 4.5 knitting, 4.5 millimeter knitting size and knitting sample. Actually, I maybe made this a little too small. So you can see that the yarn has these really cool colorways. So this one is the ocean colorway. This is a little bit among the warmer winter whites, I would say. And as you can kind of see, the yarn has kind of two colors, a little bit darker and a little bit lighter blue. And when you knit this up, it has this really, really nice colorway. So this is a very, very soft, very interesting yarn, at least very interesting to me. So it's a chunky blown yarn, and the two colors I picked from this is the ocean and this one. I think it's, again, this is very hard for me to pronounce. I practiced this, but I'm pretty sure it's not gonna work. It's something like gray. It's one of their whites, but it is not the white, but this is more like the creamy white color. And I think they are both perfect for sort of winter garments in terms of color. You can use them together, you can use them separately, but I think if you want something soft, this is really great. Although I have to say that the wool-based yarns are actually warmer. I'm not saying this is not warm. This is among the warmer yarns, but this is not the warmest yarn I have. However, I say one of the softest yarns that I will show you, if not the softest. So this was Fil Bonbon. I'm gonna put it out of the way. So the next yarn I picked is, again, very hard for me to pronounce. I think this is something like Fildar, Fil Chivré. This is the best I can do. And this is again a blown yarn. This one is a alpaca polyamide blend, and as you can see, again, as I said, it's a blown yarn, and you can see this little fuzz as all the alpaca yarns have. And I picked this yarn because it is very, very warm and very, very soft. I don't say this is itch free, obviously. If you know alpaca yarn, you can kind of feel alpaca yarn when you wear it. It's not like the bonbon yarn I showed you that is so soft that you can't even feel that you're wearing something. Obviously, you can feel when you're wearing alpacas. Alpacas though are a little bit sort of less itchy than just regular wool. But if you're super sensitive, I wouldn't recommend this yarn for you, although this is among the softer alpaca yarns that I know. And in terms of its structure, it is the most similar to Drops Air yarn, if you know that yarn. Aside from the fact that Drops Air also have wool in it, so when I compared my Drops Air to this one felt somewhat softer to me. But the reason I love this version of the alpaca blown yarn is the colorways that it comes in. So this one is I think the flannel colorway, and you can see this is almost like a grayish blue with lighter creamy white color, which is a really like subtle colorway. This is a bit darker version. This is the denim version, and here they paired this denim blue with sort of dark gray that is probably relatively hard to see. But it is a really beautiful colorway, and as I said, it's a really soft, yes, pretty soft sweater. It is actually nice for touch. And this is their ecru colorway that is again a really nice off-white. So any of these three colors I feel are really nice for winter colors if you are more into the darks, or if you're knitting I don't know, for a man, which is what I'm doing right now. This is going to be my first men's sweater colorway. Then I would suggest these. However, I think they are absolutely perfect for basically anyone who does not have problems wearing alpaca or wool. And I show you the knitted sample of this. I knitted up the denim colorway. Again, I used a 4.5 millimeter knitting needle. The suggested needle size is 6 millimeter, so this is actually smaller than what is suggested, but I'm gonna bring it closer so you kind of can see how it is knitted up. So you kind of can see the denim and this dark, very dark gray, sort of creating a very interesting sort of stripy but not stripy colorway look. And it is a relatively lightweight yarn, but you can kind of see the alpaca fuzz along the sweater when you knit it up. And as for the weight, again, I said they are not classified by weight, but here is my little tool. And when I tried to figure this out, I came to the conclusion that the best is to describe this as a worsted Aran weight yarn. I'm not so sure if you agree or disagree, but for me, that was the closest. It's definitely not a chunky yarn, so I think Aran worsted weight would be the perfect weight for the yarn. And it is coming in 50-gram balls, and it's about 150 meters or 164 yards total. So these were my little bit thicker yarns, and let's see the last two yarns that I picked. Let's go with this one. This is again a Fildor yarn. This is Fil Buoyancy, and I showed this yarn already in my fall interesting yarn video, and I'm gonna show it again because I do love the yarn. This is, I think, the Blanc. This is the white colorway, but it is actually not snow white, which you might not be able to see. It is has a creamy white base, and along that creamy white base runs this very shiny, sort of fuzzy, furry, more completely white yarn. So it has like a matte base, and the matte base yarn is sort of covered with this very shiny fuzzy yarn. And I feel that this actually creates a really cool fuzzy texture, sort of like a snowy fuzzy texture. So this blonde color, I think it's really interesting for the winter. And I also picked this colorway, Soris, that I definitely did not pronounce correctly, but I just felt like this is a very cool and interesting colorway for the winter. If you think about the snow mixing up with the dirty ground once it melts, that's kind of the feeling I got from this yarn. So I found the colorway extremely interesting. And again, it's the same thing. It is actually sort of a gray yarn. It's not a black yarn. It's a sort of dark charcoal gray mixed with basically the same white fuzz as the Blanc. But when you mix those two together, then you come up with this really cool fuzzy grayish interesting yarn. And I'll show you the texture a little bit closer so you can see how does it look like when you knit it up. And when you knit up this yarn, you can't really, I don't think you can see it, but so you kind of can see that it is made of two colors. You will be able to see the matte color and the shiny fuzz, but especially if you turn turn your garment sideways, it gives you this like fuzziness and an amazingly great texture. The yarn is, I think, a Polymade acrylic wool blend, and although it has 20% wool, I cannot feel the wool, or I cannot feel any itchiness. For me, this yarn is very, very soft, almost like cold soft, as you can probably tell from this shiny, sort of fuzzy part of the yarn. I think it creates some sort of coolness, but I can't explain that any better unless you hold the yarn, you won't know. But none of these yarns have the same feel to it. So this is the only one with this cool warmth, if that makes sense. and I found the yarn very interesting in terms of texture. And also, although it is wool, as I said, it's not itchy. It has wool, sorry, it has 20% wool, it's not itchy. And it's also really, really warm. This one is again 50 grams, but this is actually a lot shorter than my other yarns. It's only 86 meters or 94 yards. So you will need quite a few balls to make a sweater. If you go on my Etsy site, I think I say how many balls or how many skeins of this you need for a small or a medium-sized sweater, just so you have an idea. And in terms of the weight, again, this was not too easy to define, but I think, 1 second, I settled for the DK weight. Yes, I settled for the DK weight. This was hard, but if I can make it. Okay. So it's around the DK weight. I think when I sort of try to figure it out, the way you figure it out is that you have here 1 inch and you kind of have to roll up your yarn, and depending on how many times you roll it over, it tells you actually the weight of the yarn. And the DK weight, 1 second, lace, fingering, ply, DK, sorry, it's a worsted yarn. Now I made a mistake, so yes, it is actually a worsted weight yarn. Sorry for that. Actually, you have to read above the line to tell you the weight of the yarn, because yeah, I remembered when I sort of did this, I went over this inch about 10 times, and the worsted Aran weight is between 9 and 11 times. So it's kind of falls in the middle of your worsted Aran weight, not the DK weight, now it's clear, yarn. So it is a worsted weight yarn. And let's see the last yarn I picked. The last yarn I picked is really cool again, as I said, and it is called the Feel Chic by Fielder, and this is one of my favorite colorways. This is the Iceberg colorway, which is clearly even by its name, very wintry colorway. And if you can see, this is a sort of a greenish blue with gray yarn. This is most definitely a lace weight yarn, but I will show you that a little bit later. This is 50% mohair, 32% wool, and there's some polymade in the yarn and one more material in 2%. And as you know, if you don't like mohair, some people find it prickly and itchy, then you're not necessarily going to like this yarn either. As I said, it's 50% mohair. If you think of mohair silk yarns, they have 70% mohair and I think 30% silk, so a bit more mohair than this one has, but 50% is a lot of mohair. So it is kind of similar to the feel of a regular mohair yarn. But the difference with a regular silk mohair, between the regular silk mohair and this Feel Chic mohair blend, is the texture itself. So this yarn is kind of fluffy. If you think of the mohair, they are sort of like more like smaller balls and sort of like stay together. This one is kind of a sticky yarn that has texture, and you can like kind of shape it and it kind of stays like that. So if you want to have something with like a shape and you want it to like kind of stay that way, like you want a puffy sleeve that will kind of stay up and puffy, this yarn will be perfect because it sort of like keeps its shape, so to speak. So I love the Iceberg colorway, and since it's winter, I also wanted to show you the gray colorway. That is sort of, again, their off-white colorway. You can use this together or separately. I kind of like them together as well, but I love this colorway. And blue is my favorite color, so you will hear me say a lot that I really love this blue, but because I love blue color in general. So let me show you how this looks knitted up. I knitted up a different blue colorway. This is the Bluey colorway. As you can see, this is a much more warm, purpley color way. This is not necessarily a wintry blue, but if you wanted something warmer, since I've been showing you really colder blue colors, this might be your way to go. So if you compare it with the Iceberg, you kind of can see this is The iceberg is greenish, grayish blue, and this one is like purplish yellow blue. So this is a warm blue, and this is your cold greenish blue. You almost would say that this is green, not blue when you have them together, but if you have them separately, you can see this is blue. So anyhow, this is two different colorway. This is the warm colorway. So I knitted up this little sample for you to show you how the yarn looks like and how the yarn behaves. You can see how sticky this is. Like I can't even like undo this. So I knitted this up double because that's what I normally do with my lace yarns. I usually hold them double. And again, I knitted this up in a 4.5 millimeter knitting needle because that's what I kind of prefer for mohair in general. 4 or 4.5, it actually really depends. And as you can see, it kind of behaves looking wise like your regular mohair would. It has this little mohair like fuzz. I don't actually know how much this sheds. I am working on a design exactly for this yarn, so once I make it and I wash it and I wear it a few times, I'll let you know how much this sheds. I would say just like a regular mohair as of now by looking at it, but I actually don't know by experience just yet. So you can see it knits up really nicely. But what happens and how is it different than just your silk mohair? This is like, it kind of stays. Like you bend it and it stays. A silk mohair could be just kind of like falling back. This one you shape it and it's kind of gonna stay there because the yarn has sort of like a stickiness to it that kind of helps you keep the structure and the shape. So I am really thinking exactly how my design with this yarn gonna look like, but it's gonna be sort of like something like a puffy thing that will stay like that because of the yarn allows me to do so. So I guess these are all the yarns. Oh, actually I wanted to show you that this is a lace weight yarn. I said it's a lace weight yarn. Let me not make a mistake when I put this, but yes, it's clearly a lace weight yarn. Definitely. So I guess that's all I wanted to say today about winter whites and winter blues. And if you like my podcast and would like to know when my next one's out or when I have my videos out about the new yarns, if you're interested to learn about new yarns, new textures, I will, as I said, introduce every single yarn that I have in my shop with a tiny couple-minute video, so you actually get to meet the yarn since they are not on the US market. Aside from me, no one's selling it, so I will try to do as good job as I can to introduce you to the yarn. And if there's something specific you want to see about the yarn or you want me to say about the yarn when I do that, please comment in the comment section so I know, and I will use those comments and read those comments so I know how to make my yarn video so you have as much information about the yarn as I can give you, and I could convey that how much I like the yarn and why that is. So if you're interested, please consider subscribing to my channel so you are alerted when my new video comes out. If you're not subscribing, then you should know that I'm posting these videos always Tuesday mornings, early mornings, so you can listen to it before you go to work or on your way to work. Hopefully not driving on your way to work. Don't watch my videos when you're driving, but I'm putting them out there early Tuesday mornings unless there are some technical issues. And if you subscribe, you exactly know when it's coming out. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next week.